welcome to Delta College Impact. I'm Roger Wally, your host for today's program. And on today's show, we're going to learn about a great topic that I know we all get into the yard and start to worry about, and that we're going to call ornamental horticulture. And I have to be very slow on that because after I say that a couple times, we're just going to switch to calling it our OH program here at Delta College. And joining me on today's show, we have Mike Toscano, our instructor in the Ornamental Horticulture program, and I'm going to have to stop quickly as I do ornamental horticulture too many times here. But Mike, maybe tell us a little bit about what's the OH program all about here at Delta.
The OH program offers you an opportunity to do lots of variety. You can come in as a homeowner, take 1 or 2 classes that you're really interested in and just get that special knowledge, or you could come in and take the full program, which is about a 2-year program, 13 to 15 courses that you take, and you can walk out with a certificate, or you may take a group of courses that you can then transfer on to the 4-year university and finish off your degree in that particular major or area of interest. So we kind of offer a little of everything.
Now, how did you come up with the name Ornamental Horticulture? How's that pieced together?
Actually, that's a good question. There's a lot of changing of the name now. You'll hear some places call it environmental horticulture. The term horticulture came from way back when, and they used it a long time, like before, some of the original times when they were dealing with it. But it got confused with horticulture of plants and horticulture of fruit trees. So they said ornamental horticulture to teach you that this area is the dealing with plants for the environment, for indoors, landscaping, things like that. Some schools say horticulture and mean both, fruit trees as well as the other.
Oh, interesting. Now, since I work in the yard, would I be qualified to teach ornamental horticulture? And I'm just getting at, you might want to share with our audience a little bit of your background and your prepreparation really to get up there and do your teaching.
Well, Roger, I'm not sure you can teach the class, but we can give it a shot. I'm willing to try anything.
No.
I have a degree in a Bachelor of Science in Ornamental Horticulture from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And I also have a master's in general agriculture from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I worked roughly 6 to 8 years in the industry where I actually worked for horticulture businesses, and I have been teaching for around 15 plus years, all in the horticulture field.
Now, you talked about some of the different programs that our audience can get involved in when you start to enroll in one of your classes. What would be a good typical sequence that I would be involved in? Would I learn about the lawn? Would I then go to trees? What is some of the progression in our program?
Well, we have three major areas, actually 2.5. We have a major emphasis in the people that are interested in landscaping. You're going to learn about the lawns, you're going to learn about irrigation, you'll learn about plants and how to identify the plants, you'll learn how to maintain and fertilize and do those type of things in yard landscaping care. The other area of emphasis is what we call the nursery, and it's kind of a dual. It's nursery production on how to actually grow house plants, trees, shrubs, various propagation methods, all of those type of things. But it also includes the retail sales and how to deal with helping customers, answering questions for customers, and those type of things. The third area, and we're just starting this third area, is our flower arranging. We really don't have a certificate in. We've got to go through a process to get it officially there, but we've got a couple classes now, and we have some support classes where we can start teaching people how to be floral, do some floral designing and floral arranging as part of the program.
And I really want to encourage our audience to stay tuned, because on the second half of the show, we're going to bring out a table and we're going to bring out a student, and Mike and the student are going to show me a little bit on how to do some flower arranging, because that sounds like fun. And I know that not only do you talk theory in your classes, but you really try to get your students' hands dirty, and you do some special programs. What are some of the special programs you get the students involved in?
Well, actually, to go back to your first question or statement is yes. If you don't want to get dirty, don't take the classes. Every class has some type of a lab, and you will get some hands-on training, flat out. So every class has those labs. Some of the special projects that we deal with is in my turf grass class last year. We went out and took an area and installed. Oh, okay. Well, we'll start with the poinsettias then.
Let's talk about the poinsettias.
In our we have a floriculture class, which will be offered in the fall, and we grew poinsettias from scratch. We got the plants in. We took the whole crop all the way through production. We finished the crop off, and then we sold the crop, and we raised roughly 500. We started with 500 plants, and we sold about 450 poinsettias.
And so you really had 500 poinsettias that you had to worry about. Now, how do you get them to turn red at the right time?
Well, these are our babies, and this picture that you see here was run by a student, ran it as an individual project. And poinsettias need darkness in order to flower, and so we control the amount of light they get. Depending on the variety, some actually have to be put into a complete dark environment, and some just have to have the light reduced. In this case, the varieties that we just showed you had to have reduced light. It's a variety called Freedom, and they need about 12 hours of darkness for 8 weeks. And so it's not like put it in your closet and forget about it. You got to water it and do all the other stuff to it. We also, which we'll show you later, we have some tulips and all. This picture is the landscape that we put in. We did a turf grass situation where we took an existing lawn that had really gone bad after 20 years. We removed the lawn completely, we irrigated it, and then we put in the sod. Here we're laying down sod. The students are actually laying down this particular variety. It's a rye blue mix. We laid the sod down, and then of course we had a final finished product, and the sprinklers worked and the grass worked, and it's still alive. But it's a hands-on project. This is a good example of what we do. It probably, because we only worked 1 day a week during our lab, it took us about 4 to 5 weeks to do that little activity when you take all parts into it. And one of the things besides getting your hands on is, as I stress, not only how to do it, but all the little problems that may arise, and how do you actually make a profit at it if you're doing a business. Because doing it's one thing, making a profit's another.
That's right. Now the other side, though, is even if we don't worry about making a profit, if I'm interested in working on my yard or
Right.
getting that irrigation system going or something like this,
Yeah.
I guess I could sign up for that class, and that would give me not only hands-on, but an idea of how to actually go about working my yard?
Yeah, we have some pictures here of the irrigation system. We have a class that does nothing but irrigation, and this is an example of what they did. This is at our school farm out in Manteca, where we went in and installed irrigation system from scratch. We had nothing. We had to put in all the main lines, all the side lines, all the valves, the time clocks, everything had to be put in. And this waters our landscaping that is out on our school farm site in Manteca. And it was all done by school. We're going to do another one this semester. We're currently offering irrigation. We're going to do another situation where in a garden that we're putting in on campus, the students are going to design the irrigation, and then they're going to install it. So they're learning how to do it from paper to get your hands dirty.
I know a lot of people, if they haven't already been on the Delta campus, would probably be surprised with the variety of plants and vegetation that we have around our campus. Now, does this give your students the opportunity of seeing and actually experimenting and playing around with doing different things? I know you have some area around your garden set that students get a chance to work with.
Yeah, the campus itself is like a botanical garden. I haven't identified them all. I've been working on a few, but we have probably 400 plus different plants on this campus. They're not all really marked and labeled, but they're out there once you know. We're currently working on additional projects to get your hands dirty. We're doing two things. One major project is we're setting up a retail sales outlet, and we're going to get it all fixed up and laid out like a retail nursery, and then we'll have students work in there, and people can come in and purchase plants just like a retail center. That's kind of in the nursery area. In the landscape area, we're putting in a garden. It was designed by a student who we'll meet later, and that was the first phase. We started in my construction class putting in the walkways and the fences, and that's where we just finished that. The irrigation class will come in and do the irrigation system, and then we'll be putting in the plant material. The garden has 5 areas. It's a rock garden, a rose garden, a scented garden, a color garden, and a butterfly type garden. So those are the themes of each area, and they'll all be divided out. And then it will, when it's finished, and we're a ways away from it, but when it's finished, people can go through and get some ideas, and the students will use it for propagation and plant identification and maintenance and everything.
It's going to be your experimental lab out there, and students are going to be able to work on that each semester.
Yes.
Now, do I have to have any special training before enrolling in some of your classes?
No. There are a couple classes where they're more advanced, and it's good that you've had a class. But most of the classes are based, you can just take whatever current class is in and enroll and come right in and pick up. You just have to understand that if you come in as a new student, there may be a student that's been there for 3 semesters, and they may have a slight advantage because they've been here for a year and a half. But no, each class, with the exception of 1 or 2, you can walk right in on day 1 or actually better roll in advance. You better not walk in on day 1, but roll in advance and you can take the class.
Yeah. Now, some of the specific skills that I might learn, let's pick the irrigation aspect. Do I mainly just learn about how to lay out the piping and put it together, or what are some of the specific skills that I will pick up during this class?
In our irrigation class, you're going to kind of get several things. You're going to get, right now we're doing the design portion, how to draw it up, how to figure all the math out to figure out so that it works. We put in systems and we turn them on and they go bip, 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 instead of like they're supposed to. So we need to learn all that. So that's what we learn first. Once they learn that, then they design a system and they go and physically install it. We run the trenchers, we dig the trenches, we glue all the pipe together, we turn the thing on and make sure it sprays correctly. And then after that, we move forward and fill the trenches and move to another project. We learn how to take another area where the system's been in for years and it's not working correctly, and how to troubleshoot it and make sure it does work. How to set the time clocks. So we do a little of everything, I sometimes kid the students and say we give you enough information to make you dangerous.
Hey, well, I got to tell you, do you go to people's homes to do special projects like instructors on campus?
No, I'm sorry, Roger. You're going to have to
no.
hire somebody to get your yard done. We don't go and do that because we have more than enough projects here on campus.
I would imagine. It sounds like a lot of fun from a standpoint of learning some new skills. Now, what types of professions might your students go into if they would say, hey, I'd like to turn this into a vocation?
Well, probably one of the quickest and easiest professions to get involved in is the retail sales, retail nurseries. Whether it be at your chains, such as your depots, Orchard Supply like that, or an independent nursery, Quail Lake, Stockton, Port of Stockton Nursery, a couple of those independent nurseries. You can also then go into production, how to grow the plants and actually grow the plants up. You sell those plants, whether you're working for a firm or by yourself, you sell those plants to the nursery. And so you're in the growing phase of it. Another career, and there's all kinds of jobs in each one of these areas, by the way. I'm just kind of skimming on.
Well, I tell you, we're going to stop you right there because I want to get to the flower arranging part.
Okay.
Because we're going to take a brief pause here for a couple of public service messages. But when we return, we're going to start to see how you put together a beautiful flower arrangement. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
From the past they come. Dinosaurs. Journey back to a primitive time when Tyrannosaurus ruled the earth. Meet prehistoric predators up close and personal, if you dare. See the fossil exhibit Footsteps Through Time at Stockton's Clever Planetarium.
Hello and welcome back to Delta College Impact. I'm Roger Waller, your host for today's show, and today we're talking about ornamental horticulture. And on the first half of the program, we talked with Mike Toscano about the special OH program we run here at Delta College. And on the second half of the show, we're going to walk through our jungle of plants here, and we've been joined by one of the students in the ornamental horticulture program, Sari Mitchell. And let's start with Mike again. And Mike, we might want to talk a little bit about not so much these plants just yet, because we're going to come back and talk about them with Sari. But let's talk a little bit about some of the flower arranging that you do here on campus, because I know I have a tremendous opportunity as a faculty person because you guys not only make them, but you also sell them.
That's true, Roger. The flower program is fairly new. We started about a year and a half ago. We started with a beginning or basic flower arranging, and this arrangement out here in the front is an arrangement that we did, one of my students did the other night as part of this class. And we teach them all the basics and the basic mechanics. They get to make about 15, 17 arrangements, and they really learn all the really beginning part of how to do the arrangements. We follow that up next year with an advanced class, which will be coming online to kind of expand the program a little bit.
Now, does advanced class mean they get bigger, or?
No. What we do in the beginning classes, we stick to a couple of the basic fundamentals, the rounds, the triangles, and then when we get into the advanced classes, we get into the kind of the C's and the S's, the verticals, different. You take the beginning shapes that you learned and you change them, you stretch them, you do different things with them, and you learn how to get really creative.
Oh, you know, now that sounds like fun. Now, Sari, I know when you joined the program, what was it that got you interested in ornamental horticulture?
Well, actually, I had really no idea what it was at first, but I went to a class for the first time and I saw how exciting the world of plants was by just going to the class, seeing the exciting program and all the things that you're able to do with different plants.
Now, that sounds like fun. Now, did you just go into the one class, and have you taken more than one class now?
Yes, I have. I've taken about 20, I believe.
Oh,
So,
is
yes.
that right? Now, what are some of the courses that you've taken?
I've taken landscape design and flower arranging and irrigation I'm taking right now. I'm also taking landscape maintenance, and there's all different types.
Oh, you
Nursery
really have.
propagation, yes.
Now, Mike, I know we're going to test Sari here in a couple minutes. You might want to walk through these plants and tell us a little bit about these plants, because some of them don't look real. I mean, I'm standing here looking at these things, and they look so nice and healthy. Did you buy these? Just a little humor here.
Well, actually, you're correct on the one you're playing with. That one was purchased for the sole purpose of identification. One of the classes on houseplant and house care has an identification portion where we actually have plants that we just identify and we don't really grow and sell. The rest of these plants, though, are all plants that have been grown by the students. Depending on what situation we did. A good example would be this guy here. This is called a peperomia. And what the students did, and this is hard to believe, about a year or so ago, they took one leaf like this, put it in a flat, rooted it, and now we have this.
And that was a year ago?
It might be a year and a half. You know, it depends on the size. This might be a year and a half's worth of growth.
So you just had to take that one leaf.
Right.
And from that, as they say, from that one leaf, this plant has come.
That's correct. There's a little bit more to it. I mean, there's a greenhouse and all. If it was that simple, I wouldn't be needed. But that's basically what we've done, is we've gone from a single leaf to a plant, and we teach them. So every plant here is a plant that we've propagated by its particular method, with the exception of this particular one. And then these plants we grow, we raise, and then the students have a plant sale in the spring, and we sell off the merchandise, and any profits that are left go to expand and improve the program.
I know it's amazing for those of you who have not been here on our campus to come on down to the campus during the plant sale and really see the variety and I guess the healthy nature of the plants. Now, Sari, what are some of the tricks of the trade that you've learned as you learn about some of these different plants here?
Oh, there's so many different tricks of the trade. Well, just how not to kill your houseplants, for one thing. That's a common problem by overwatering.
Let me know that one, please. How not to kill a houseplant. What are some of the tricks?
Some of the tricks are not to overwater. I think that's the biggest one, is because many people overwater. They just kill a houseplant with care. So I'd say that...
How do you know when to stop watering? Because every time I walk near my plant, I think it's saying, water me, water me.
Well, each plant is different, and it also depends on your soil mix. But if you stick your finger in the pot, that's one way of telling whether it's dry. You can tell that some plants require less water, but most plants would like to dry out a little bit before you give them water.
Now, Mike, maybe we could walk around the table and you can talk about some of these varieties. And I guess these are all indoor houseplants that some of our audience could just pick up and start to care for in their homes.
That's correct. With the exception of the oddball tulips, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Good point.
This here is a variety of fern that we've kind of done special that I've got a hold of, and it's called the fishtail fern. And the reason it's called the fishtail fern and I'm not sure we can get a good look at this, is you see how the end of the fern fishtails. See how it has the fork like a fishtail does? And that's
Well, let's leave
called
that
the
up, and
fishtail fern.
we'll let our cameraman see how
See,
close he can get to
And let's see if I can get one out here. Here's the fishtail right out here, if you can see it. And anyways, that has a fishtail, every one of these forks. So it's like your standard Boston fern, but yet it forks, so it's a little bit different. One of the things I try and do with my students as we cover these particular plants is we introduce them to some different things. Instead of what everybody has, we try and do some different things. This one next to it right now is a good example. This is basically called a satin pothos. There's a plant out there called the pothos or the marble queen or devil's ivy. It has the same leaf shape, but it's a yellow or green. Well, this particular variety has green and has these kind of silvery veins in it, and it looks real delicate, but it's just as durable as the other plant. And again, it's something that people don't always find. And so the satin pothos is one.
Now, one of the things I thought was very interesting is when we were talking about the other plant of it taking a year to get to this size. You know, a lot of times I look at a plant and I think for it to be healthy, it has to grow to be a giant redwood and get very large. Is there a point in time, do I trim these to keep them manageable, or what's the approach that I should take as my plant starts to grow?
Well, some plants just need maintenance. Dead flowers need to be removed, dead leaves may need to be removed, things like that. And that's all they'll ever need. Other plants, such as the satin pothos, which is an ivy vining, as you can see, if I lift this up, it starts to really trail. The further it gets, you may get to a point where you choose not to, because of the length of it, you may choose to prune it to keep it under control because you don't want it going down the hall and into the next room.
That's right.
Those type of things. So some is just basic maintenance and some is keeping it under control. Because plants, in reality, very rarely stop growing unless they die. If they're good and healthy, they're always growing.
Now, is there a specific life cycle of a plant? I mean, would I expect this plant to be with me for 10 years, or is there a period of time at which I wouldn't feel so guilty after about 20 years when my plant passed away? Or
if you get plants living 10 and 20 years indoors, you've done excellent. Most homeowners, 2 years seems to be the average life for most houseplants. Now, there are some houseplants, and I have some at home, and I'm sure some people in the audience and some students have had some plants that they've had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. As long as you give them the appropriate environment, their life should be like yours, long running. But when you move them around a lot and you don't water enough or you don't fertilize enough, or all the cats, the dogs, and so when you take all that in consideration, 2 years, if you get 2 years out of a life, you've done pretty good.
Okay, I know we have 5 minutes more to go in the show, so it goes real fast. Sarah, you might want to talk about a couple of these plants here that are some of your favorites on the table.
Oh, well, I really like this one here. It's the rabbit's foot fern, and I like it because of these little feet it has on it that look rather like rabbit's feet.
Now, keep that up and let's see if we can get a close-up look at that.
Okay. These aren't actually the roots of the plant, they're just a modified stem, but they add a little interest to the plant. And it's a very delicate plant also.
Is that a domestic plant, or is this like imported from Brazil or something like that?
It's imported.
Is it?
Most house plants are. They're usually rainforest type plants.
All right, what else do we have on our table here?
Well, we have tulips, of course, which are very bright, a nice little bright spot.
Now, I noticed that you have it in the pot, and I know we talked about these being sort of indoor plants, except the tulip that's a little unique. Can I actually grow tulips indoors?
Yes, yes, you can. These here were forced for a special holiday. We tricked Mother Nature by taking these tulips and refrigerated them while they were in the pot. We pulled them out, put them in the warm greenhouse, and boom, 30 days later, they're in flower. So we can schedule when we want these to flower by adjusting their environment. And it's the same thing with poinsettias and marigolds and a lot of plants. If you know what their requirements are, you can adjust their requirements and trick them into thinking it's wrong. You know, here it is in the middle of winter, and yet we got things flowering.
So what I could do is I could stick that in with my diet sodas in my refrigerator, and or do I stick the bulbs in there in the pot?
Well, as a homeowner, I would try putting the bulbs in a baggie for about 6 to 8 weeks in a refrigerator. Then you pull them out, put them in the pot with soil, put them indoors where it's warm, and they will flower.
Wow, now that's a good technique to have, especially if you're planning ahead for a party or something like that. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
That's right.
What a conversation piece to have tulips growing in your house right at that time. How about the big one at the end? What's that one?
This is a variety of philodendron. I brought it because it just, again, was kind of different. It has a silvery vein. It's a philodendron solderi. And it's a vining type, as you see, because we have it up on a stake. And we propagated this from cuttings. And we take individual parts of the stem, root them. When we get them all rooted, then we put them in a pot like this and then continue to grow them up the stake. And then they're, at this point, it's ready for sale.
So again, you start to propagate each of these and you get a chance to show the students how to grow them as well as how to take care of them.
Right.
Now we should brag a little bit about Sari because she's also doing a little landscape work for you, isn't she?
Yeah, Sari was convinced to do a special project. She has a really nice talent in drawing. And she did a special project and did a complete design of our new garden that we're putting in across the street.
Oh, and so you've laid out the blueprints and these sorts of things. Well, I've got to tell you, this half an hour has gone very quickly for me as we're heading into the home stretch here. And we do want to encourage people who've watched this show, if you want to join Sari and some of the other students in our classes, you can find out more about the program by contacting Mike Toscano, and his phone number is 954-5501 here at Delta College. And Mike will be happy to talk to you about the program here at Delta College, some of the career opportunities as well as the fun things you can learn in the classes. So you don't even have to be doing it as a vocation. Just take it for fun and enjoy ornamental horticulture here at Delta College. I want to thank Mike and Sari for joining us here, and we want to encourage you to watch our future Delta College Impact shows, and we'll see you down the road and see you at the next Impact. Thanks a lot for watching.